today's piece, I want to talk about capital allowances. It seems to be my favourite topic. I've talked about it in March, again in April, and here we are in May. A brief recap for those that don't know what on earth capital allowance is. The best way to describe it is to actually give almost a little mini case study about one of my properties. So I've got a 3-bedroom cottage that I use as a holiday let. It's within a limited company. And I paid a surveyor to do a specific report that produces what the capital allowances would be on that property. And the figure was roughly £50,000. Now, I make about, on average, £12,000 of profit from that one property each year. So if I didn't have any capital allowances to claim, I would be paying corporation tax on that 12,000 quid, which is about 2,300 roughly. Because I've got the capital allowance report, I give that report to the accountant, and what they can actually do is reduce the profit essentially notionally from 12,000 down to zero. So I pay no corporation tax whatsoever. And that 2,300 I would have paid to HMRC goes into my pocket. Happy days. Now, the dilemma has been, if we now bring it back to the government, because the government essentially are scrapping capital allowances. That was the bad news I talked about in March and again in April. But they said they're scrapping it from April 25. So what we didn't know was whether, in my example, where I've got this 50,000 of capital allowance, I've only used it for 1 year. So I've got 4 unused years. And if they're scrapping capital allowances in April 25, does that mean I'll not be able to access and use the capital allowances again? So the great news is the government have now finally given us some detail, and they've said that any existing claims or new claims that are put in from now but before the 5th of April next year will be honoured and allowed to continue. So I can continue to keep claiming capital allowances for another 4 years and keeping that £2,300 of corporation tax in my pocket. So here's what you guys should be doing. If you've been sat on the fence as a holiday let owner, serviced accommodation owner, and maybe to a lesser extent a HMO owner, because there can be capital allowances that you guys can claim as well. If you've been sat on the fence thinking, well, what's the point in paying a professional surveyor for me not to be able to claim? We now know we can. So look, if you know a professional capital allowances surveyor, then go and contact them, get off the fence, get them to produce that report so that you know what that allowance is, and then you know whether to make that payment to the surveyor. If you don't know anybody, then by all means, contact me. I'm more than happy to put you in touch with the guy that's the surveyor that sorted my properties out. Just email me. It's RP Romeo Papa at themortgagehome.co.uk. Just drop me a quick email and I'll just put you in touch with a surveyor and they'll produce that report. They produce the report for free. So if the allowance is put, or what, it might even tell you you can't claim, you're not eligible. You need to know that information up front so you can make a decision. If you can claim, they'll tell you what the allowance is, and then you can choose whether to then pay for the report. And then, of course, you can put that claim in. So you've got a window. You've got between now and the 5th of April next year to do that. So please, please, please come off the fence. The final thing I want to say, you might want to make a note of this, is if you are a landlord that has within their portfolio long-term lets, you've never had a holiday let before, but what if you could repurpose one of your properties as a holiday let, and you've been thinking about it? Maybe the figures sort of make sense as a holiday let. Well, now, if you can add the capital allowance on top of that and keep all your profit, not pay any tax, perhaps for 5 years like I am on one of mine, then that might make it a very compelling proposition. So have a look at your existing portfolio and see whether any of your existing properties are in that right area to use as holiday let or service accommodation. Then you can also claim those capital hours, hopefully. I'll cross my fingers for you.